Welcome to Layer of the Alchemist and another edition of Midweek Maiden. This is where we get together on Wednesday and we talk some Iron Maiden. I have a special guest with me returning to the Layer and returning to Midweek Maiden. We have Lazeruss. He was here for our last episode where we had our 10 favorite reunion era songs. So thank you for joining me here again for another edition of Midweek Maiden, Lazeruss.
Hey, glad to be here, John. Very, very happy to be here. Very happy
All
to
right.
talk Maiden anytime.
Oh, fantastic. And Lazeruss has his own YouTube channel, which is awesome. And I'm going to be leaving a link to that below in the description. And you can also find him hanging around at the Man Cave of Doom YouTube channel. That's an awesome channel. I've been a guest there a few times. Lazeruss is a guest there very often. Just a bunch of dudes hanging out, talking random metal and showing off their records and stuff like that. It's a blast. So I'll leave a link to that down below also. But today, for this special episode, Lazeruss is going to be sharing with us and talking about Iron Maiden bootleg recordings. He's going to sort of be giving us a, maybe a little introduction thing for if you're a newbie to bootlegs. Maybe you don't have any Iron Maiden bootlegs and you've been thinking about what to get into, which shows to get. He's just going to be giving us all kinds of stuff on this. I'm going to be honest myself, I don't have any Iron Maiden bootlegs. I have some on CD. I don't have any on vinyl. This is sort of new to me, but I know that this is something that Lazeruss is very knowledgeable and passionate about. So that's why I asked him if he could share some of his knowledge and wisdom from years of collecting this stuff with us. So I'm just going to be sitting back here, relaxing and enjoying this. So Lazeruss, take it away.
Okay, so, well, John, thanks for having me on. The first thing I want to say about Maiden bootlegs is if people are ready to go down this path, go into this rabbit hole, and you want to start collecting Maiden bootlegs, let's say you already collect Maiden records or CDs or cassettes or all of it or what have you, and you want to go down the bootleg route, be forewarned. I am not holding any responsibility for this. Good luck, have fun, don't trip and fall, but you will have an incredible time. It will keep you busy. You will never complete it. Unless you're maybe Donald Trump, but it is a lot of fun, but it's very addictive. And you can really kind of be diverse on how you want to do it if you want. I go for pretty much anything because the way I look at bootlegs is different than other people, and everybody looks at bootlegs differently. I look at them as snapshots of history being preserved. Especially when it comes to the really early stuff. I'm thankful that they're there. We can get into a big debate about, is it fair to the band because they don't get paid for them? All I can say is, well, maybe the band should release more live studio or live performances if that's what they're concerned with. But to be honest, when it comes to a band like Maiden, Judas Priest, Ozzy, Black Sabbath for John, I think bands have realized, I know Maiden has, because I've heard Bruce Dickinson comment on it, that when it comes to stuff like bootlegs, that fuels the fandom, right? Which fuels the purchasing for the band. So it's kind of this roundabout support that they get without doing it the normal route. So with that, bootleg recordings can vary greatly in sound quality. They can sound like they were recorded professionally, like a regular live studio album, or they can sound like they were recorded from a cassette deck in the pocket of a person at a show in the last row. It's really going to vary, but it also depends on what you're looking for in the bootleg. I'm going to show one here real quick that was just a bit of a discussion on Facebook, and that's this one here. And this is from the first tour, from the first album of Iron Maiden, and this was recorded, oh, my eyes are shut, 1980, April 5th, in, I believe, Belgium, okay? So you got to remember, this is 1980. Okay. There was not a lot of, especially for this band who was just pretty much still starting out and playing small stuff at this point. They didn't have a grand recording ability to record live. So this is an audience recording. Somebody recorded this on a cassette, and it was then, found and pressed to vinyl. So I know already before I even listen to this what to expect just by when it was recorded, where and by who, and the legacy of the band and where they were at the time. I know this is not going to be, brand new live album quality. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to collecting a band's material, and especially bootlegs, and if you've been collecting bootlegs, and I was buying bootlegs back in high school in the 80s, there's a charm to these. There's a charm to that sound. I almost prefer sometimes that sound quality, that lo-fi smuggled cassette tape, recording. I like to hear the banter of the people around the person that was recording it. It's capturing this moment in time. It's capturing a moment in time for this band that now can sell out an arena to 50,000 people playing in a club of 50, and how they sounded then and how that sound experience was then. That is the charm of bootlegs like this. I know some people only want bootlegs that sound really good. Well, number one, they're bootlegs. These are produced unauthorized, so your sound quality is never going to be top notch. So bootlegs back in the early days used to look like this. It was a standard white jacket, usually black vinyl, sometimes colored vinyl, just a dummy label that's blank, or would have, maybe an A or a B or a 1 or a 2, or sometimes even a false name on it, of a false band, in order to keep it hidden. And then it would have a paper insert laid in there. That's pretty much all you got. Okay. And back in the day, bootlegs like this were pretty much all those cassette tape recordings. Okay. The best sound quality available in early bootlegs would have been your FM broadcasts, shows that were broadcast on the radio. People would record those off the radio, and those would end up as bootlegs. Well, Maiden didn't have a ton of FM broadcasts in the early days because they weren't being played on the radio. Okay. So, your early style of bootleg is going to be usually a colored black and white Xerox copy type of paper and a jacket like this, and that's your bootleg record. Now, what I want to show is primarily more bootlegs that are still somewhat attainable. If you hunt hard enough, you can still get some of these. The older the bootleg, the harder it's going to be to find, the more expensive it's usually going to be. But I can tell you that the newer bootlegs, what's nice, especially with a band like Maiden, is that the companies that make these things, when it comes to Maiden, they put a lot of quality into the packaging, and they make them special. They make them really something. So I'm going to go to one of my favorites, and this is not all that great in packaging, but it's one of my favorite shows. It's a legendary show, and this is one that I highly recommend people that want to get into the Maiden bootleg game. Track down, it'll be one of your favorites. That's another thing, is you want to kind of look for shows that in a way should have been recorded professionally live and released as a live record, but weren't. And this is one of them. And this is Iron Maiden Live at the Rainbow, December 21st, 1980.
Yeah.
Classic show.
Is this the one that they made the video?
Yes,
from?
yes.
Yeah.
So classic show that, there you go.
So the sound quality is good on that because it's really taken. Are there any songs on there that are not on the video version? Do you know? Because the video version's only
No,
like
it's all
about
there.
30 minutes long, isn't it, or something? It's not like,
No, I think there's 7 tracks, and I think that's what the video is too. I
yeah.
would have to double check. But it's got Ides of March, Rothschild Killers, Remember Tomorrow, one of my favorite Maiden songs, Transylvania, Phantom of the Opera, and Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
So,
And you know, you're talking about when people, and these shows too, we should say, if you're just interested in hearing these shows, I'm sure if you look it up on YouTube, you'll find the audio of these shows that we're talking about. If you're just curious to hear the shows, for a lot of people, the earlier stuff too is special with any band because the set lists back then were pretty varied because they only had one record out or they only had 2
right.
albums out or whatever. And I tell this story all the time that the first time I heard Iron Maiden was on MTV. We just got MTV. We literally had just gotten it. I came down in the middle of the night, couldn't sleep, turned the TV on, and they're playing Iron Maiden at the Rainbow, that video. And I came in about 3 or 4 songs before the end, and it just blew my mind. It changed, you know, at that time I had been playing bass for like about a year or 2. My bass teacher, who was an old country and western guy, told me bass players never play above the 5th fret. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing Steve Harris playing Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, this guy's playing above the 5th fret. What's going on? You know, and I was just floored. And that was my first exposure to Iron Maiden. So that was a great example of a show that, you know, I would love to have that show. And it's surprising that they haven't released that in some capacity because, you know, they released it as a video. So they must have the audio.
Oh, sure.
Somewhere,
sure.
You know.
Sure. And it isn't just Maiden. I mean, this is how it is with a lot of these bands. You know, there's bands that are sitting on probably just a vault full of material, you know, but for contractual reasons, who knows why, the stuff doesn't get out. So that's where the bootleg industry comes into play, and they get it where they can and then produce it, you know. So, but another bootleg that I want to recommend is because this one's kind of special to me. This is a newer one that I got because this is from a show, and this is what else is fun if you're into boots, is to try and find bootlegs of shows you were at. Okay, shows that you were in attendance at. That is what's fun. And this is one that I was at, and this is Shoreline Shakedown, and this is from the Brave New World tour. And this was when Rob Halford opened, and I actually have that bootleg also of Rob Halford's show from this night at this show. So in a way you can say, yeah, I'm on this record, because you're screaming, right? So, but killer record, great show, you know. But yeah, this is one I was actually in attendance for. So that's another fun thing with bootlegs. You know, it'd be cool to say, oh, I was on Live After Death, and I might have been, but I don't know which night that track was recorded on, you know, so I don't know, because that was a multiple night show. But so that's another fun thing to do with bootlegs, is to track down ones that you were in attendance at. This is another one. Well, you know, wait until I look at packaging there. Let's talk about this. When it comes to Maiden and Maiden bootlegs, this is one I think, or one type of bootleg that I think Maiden collectors should probably pay attention to if you're getting into it. Those that are already into it, I'm sure will understand what I'm saying, but this one is Blaze No Brazil. And so this is Blaze Bayley, and this is in Brazil. Oh, what year was this? Yeah, 96, August of 96 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Now, why is this important? This is important because you have that short 2-album span where Blaze was the lead singer for Iron Maiden, and this is live recordings of Blaze doing Bruce Dickinson tracks, Blaze doing Paul Di'Anno tracks, and Blaze doing Blaze Bayley tracks. Okay, so it was a short time. It was a short time in the band's history, and they didn't release any official live material from that time.
Yeah.
Okay? So the only way to listen to that is through bootlegs. Okay. And I'll tell you, Blaze, there are some videos, there's bootleg videos on YouTube of concerts with Blaze. But for those that like to say, oh, Blaze just wasn't a good fit for Maiden, and yeah, he's no Bruce Dickinson, and yeah, no, he's not. He's Blaze Bayley. But I'll tell you what, listening to him sing some of the Bruce material, yeah, he doesn't have the range Bruce does, but he still pulls it off pretty damn good. So it's an interesting time of the band. It's an interesting way to have those tracks performed by that individual preserved. So Blaze Bayley bootlegs, another aspect to look at. Here's kind of along the same lines, but in a different way. This is a really good sounding and a really good quality boot. This is Iron Maiden, The Battle of Bristol, 1986. This is from the Somewhere in Time tour. Okay, and the Somewhere in Time tour is the tour that Steve has always been upset about, that they never
filmed it.
Yeah, they never filmed it, and they never released it. They never released a live record from this tour. No live official Maiden VHS Somewhere in Time tour tape, no nothing. And some of the tracks off this album live only got played on this tour. So again, here is Sea of Madness,
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, tracks like that, here they are live from the band. So anything from an album tour that never had an official release, bootlegs are the way to experience those tours. Maybe this was the one tour that you didn't get to go to because you were having a child being born that weekend, so you couldn't go. Well, now you can go see what you missed, or go listen to what you missed, So pay attention to bootlegs from shows that didn't have official releases, or didn't have videos or anything like that. It's another great preservation work. Okay. And then along those same lines, here's from the same tour, but different show nights. Somewhere on Tour. This is in US, 1987. This is in Michigan. And this one, Somewhere on Tour, 1987. This is live in Japan. So same tour, 2 different nights, 2 different sides of the world. Okay. And this is from the company Heavy Metal Records. This is a company that's putting out bootlegs currently. It's a great series. The quality is excellent. You see how they take the liberty of doing phenomenal artwork that fits right in with the band's artwork. They stay true for the most part. Like on this OB strip, you have the Somewhere in Time Cyborg Eddie there, Stranger in a Strange Land Eddie Cyborg there. This one they went with a more, actually it's almost Senjutsu Samurai Eddie, but it's because it's live in Japan. But they take nice quality in the product itself. OB strips, the jackets are really nice. The vinyl is beautifully pressed. The sound quality from this company can vary. It depends on the age of the show and the bootleg. But again, Somewhere in Time. So there's 3 bootlegs right there, just from that tour. Okay. Next up, this is one of my favorite bootlegs, and this is strictly because of what it is and the way it's made. The sound quality is so-so. It's a bootleg of its time, which is 1982. This is Beast on the Road. And this was literally 1 month after the release of the Number of the Beast album. And this is in Barcelona, live in Barcelona. So this is the first, one of the first live shows right after the release of the Number of the Beast album. So you have with that, Bruce doing his first live, performances of Paul Di'Anno tracks on here. Ides of March, Murders in the Rue Morgue. How often have you heard Bruce do Murders in the Rue Morgue? And then the first time he's doing the Number of the Beast tracks, Children of the Damned, Number of the Beast, 22 Acacia Avenue, Total Eclipse.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. I was going to ask if that was on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is where, a lot of people will think when they're getting into vinyl and they're first getting into bootlegs that they're just, ooh, these are secretly illegal recorded shows, and no, you got to look deeper than that on what they are and why to have them. And if you're a fan of the band and you want to capture those moments in time, there's some bootlegs where you can hear where Maiden was notorious for the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son tour. They played fast.
Yeah.
They just played fast for whatever reason. I don't know if they just felt rushed at every show, that they had to get through the show as quick as possible. But every show that I've heard from that tour, they play fast. They play the songs fast. There's other shows where I hear them play slow. It's interesting to see the different, stages of the band live, and how they progressed. But, beautiful cover. Just love this bootleg. This is a 2-album set. It's on clear vinyl, but you can see where, Maiden, you get a lot of really cool pieces of a merchandise for your collection with bootlegs. For those that think Maiden albums are just cool and the Maiden art and everything, yeah, look at the bootlegs. Some of these will blow your mind compared to their actual albums. This one is their first demos. Iron Maiden, Invasions, Prowler, and Strange World.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's on a really neat silk screen vinyl, one-sided. So this side is the silk screen, and this is your playing side here.
Wow, nice.
So these are things that, they know, especially now, that bootlegs who are going to buy these are going to be collectors. So they've really taken a lot in the packaging of these things, made them really special. Where, like, the first one I showed you, like I said back in the day, it was just a Xerox sheet of paper thrown in, with a plain white jacket. Now they've really taken the liberty that there's some bootlegs that I think are just as good, if not better, than the actual produced material. And I'm going to show you one here that's just that. So here's the Legacy of the Beast live album, live in Mexico. Okay, this is a factory record. This is, their release. There's a bootleg from the same tour. Okay, and this one is in America. This is in Mansfield at the Xfinity Center. Okay, they're both 3 LP sets. Okay, personally, I like the bootleg cover better than that one. Okay, this Eddie was the big Eddie that was at the show. He blew up behind Nico, and this was the Eddie you saw. I don't remember seeing Eddie in a tuxedo anywhere. So, does this one sound better? Well, of course, this one was professionally recorded. But the cool thing about this one is you get to hear everything from the show. They recorded everything. So you get to hear the beginning of they played this video that you got to watch, okay, and it was the Legacy of the Beast, I think, game video or whatever. You hear that on here. You hear Doctor, okay, which gets played before every Maiden concert, and that's important because when you go to a Maiden concert and you hear Doctor, you know, they're sitting on the stage. They're there, they're ready, right? So you're getting ready to rock, right? So on this tour, between each song, they had like little video, audio stuff. That's all on here. It's not on here, you know. So this sounds better, yes, but this sounds more like the concert when I was there. Okay.
Yeah.
So official live record versus bootleg, reasons to like both, you know, and what a cool option to have. So next up here with bootlegs, you can then start going down some other, you know, those are kind of some standard bootlegs that I showed you there. With bands like Maiden, you can get into bootleg box sets. Okay, so this is a box set. I believe it's 5 LPs, a book, posters. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Okay, this is 1982. Yeah, 2 shows in 1982 and 83. So you've got shows from Number of the Beast as well as the World Peace Tour, which was Peace of Mind. Okay, combined in this box set. And this box set is nicer than a lot of record label produced box sets.
Yeah, that looks great.
And it's a bootleg. Okay, so for a collector of a band, this stuff is just, and there's a lot of these. There's a lot of Maiden box sets, bootleg box sets. I'll never own them all, that's for sure. But so you have options, you know, if you want to go down the bootleg hole, you can really define on, I only want shows I've been to, or I only want shows from America, or you can do so many things. I only want to collect single LP sets. I want to collect double LP sets. I want to collect box sets. I want to collect all of it, whatever the case is. You can really define on what you want to do. But there is so much. There are so many Iron Maiden bootlegs. I have probably close to 200 different Iron Maiden bootlegs, and there's probably another 200 out there. You know, some of my holy grail pieces. So for those that are curious, when it comes to Iron Maiden bootlegs, your prices can really range. You can go anywhere from $20 up to multiple $100s. Okay, for these. I have a few of this type of bootleg here. This is number 11 of 25. There's only 25 of these in existence. And this is Iron Maiden live at Oxford, 1982. This is a hardcover, leather-bound book. You can see here number 11 out of 25. You know, so for a collector, this is, you know, something really, really special. I'm one of only 25 people to own one of these. So here's where you can really start going into rare stuff. The bigger the band, obviously, the more there's going to be, and the rarer it's going to be. Thank God I'm not a Beatles collector or a Stones collector, because I could never do it. And so then again, here's another one. I won't open this one, but here's another one of those hardcover, book style, leather, you know, true, you know, nice collectible pieces. Here's a big one. This is from one of the same companies. This is a 3-album set. This is from the X Factor tour, again with Blaze Bayley. You see how thick this one is. Like a gray leather. It folds open, huge fold open set. So again, with the packaging, you know, with Iron Maiden is just through the roof. You know, these companies that make these things, they know that as soon as they're going to make something Iron Maiden, they go crazy with the packaging, you know, because that's half of what Maiden is, you know. So for the collector, that just makes it extremely fun and enjoyable. So those are just a snapshot of some different Iron Maiden bootlegs, some different styles, some different reasons. I think this is kind of what you were looking for, John.
No,
And then, you don't have to stick with vinyl. There's Iron Maiden bootleg CDs. This is the Soundhouse tapes, legendary, their first, 7-inch EP, right?
Yeah.
But this has 20 tracks on it. So it's got the original EP, but then all these other additional rarities and demos and everything else on there. Things like this. This is Iron Maiden Killing Time, April 28th, 1981. This is on Metal Memory Records. So there's CD bootlegs too. Tons of these things. Anaheim, 1982. 666 and a half. Whoop. And this is another Metal Memory produced one. You can even, this is Yesterday's Sorrows. Paul Diano, this is going to be 79.
Wow.
Early.
Wow.
And then you can even, this one, you can make your own. There's a lot of Iron Maiden bootleg websites where you can download the files, the digital files, burn your CD, download the cover artwork, print it out, make your own disc. Wow. That's exactly what this one is. I have a bunch of this stuff too, but I wanted to grab one just to show you.
Cool.
So you can actually even make your own collection if you want for just the price of your time and the material. Maiden is so big and they have such a huge fan base that there's tons of websites just to go get the stuff for free, So it all depends on what you want to do with it. But it is a fun part of collecting. If you're a record collector, and especially a collector and fan of a certain band. I'm the same way with Priest. I have the same kind of stuff with Priest. Those two bands are my two main bands. Maiden more so though. But in fact, I probably have just as many Maiden bootleg pieces as I do, regular produced records. So it gives the collector something more to focus on than just the standard catalog. So
awesome. Well, thank you for all that. This is a real great look at rare Iron Maiden collectibles here. That was just awesome, and all the different ways you can approach this. You can go for early stuff. You can search out maybe a song that they only played a couple times on a tour. You find the live recording of it on there. That's something that I always like to do. I like to hear songs that weren't played live very often. That's always fun for me. So yeah. Thank you for sharing all this great wealth of information with us, showing off some of your collection. We really appreciate it. Make sure you check out Lazeruss, his YouTube channel. He talks a lot of metal and goes through his other recent buys, his collections and everything else. It's a great YouTube channel. So thank you for sharing all this information with us today.
Pleasure.
All right. Let us know down in the comments down below if you guys have some favorite live Iron Maiden shows that you really like and that you think people should check out. Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks again to Lazeruss, and until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal, and up the irons.